Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 277. I am Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel of the NoDQ Review. Of course, Aaron Rift is here. Walter Cruz, the reliable one, is here. Brett from California is back in the house, and Mike. Gentlemen, what's going on? We didn't do a show Sunday night because I've been sick. I'm still sick with the flu, but here we are. I'm not going to hold back. We're going to try to do it. I'm going to have the rest of the crew carry me this week and the NoDQ Galaxy. What's going on, everybody? Brett, what's up?
Just came straight from the beach, and I put a shirt on specifically for this show.
Oh, there might be a few people out there that want to see you take that shirt off. Maybe they'll have to super chat. We'll see. Anyway, stay tuned because we have some topics that I'm sure will interest you, as always. I don't know if Aaron filled you in what they are. You want to play it on the fly? I know I like to kind of make Mike wait. Like I don't even send him the topics. I'm just come and be on the show, and when it's your turn, I'll tell you what we're talking about. Right, Mike? What's up?
That's right. Nothing much. Thanks for having me again. I wasn't sure I was going to make it today, but I got everything taken care of and was able to make it. So thanks for having me.
Nice. Episode 277. Well, stay tuned. I'll be back to you shortly. Walter, you're usually like, let's just start the show.
Yeah, I'm ready to get into it. You're under the weather, so if the sooner we can get out of here for you so you can rest and drink plenty of fluids, then
the sooner I can go to bed. Aaron, what's up?
I'm doing pretty good. I think we'll try not to rile you up too much, let you rest this week. I'll avoid any of the controversial topics that might set you off, but I still want to encourage everyone to leave their opinions. That's what the NoDQ Review is all about. Different opinions, different thoughts. And this is the first time we're having Mike and Brett on at the same time. And both of them can be very opinionated. So they'll make up for Virtue. If Virtue's a little calmer than usual, I'm sure that Brett and Mike will fill that void. And who knows, maybe I'll have a thing or two to say. Chat room, leave your comments. Your participation matters. So post a comment in the chat room, nodq.com/YouTube. If you're watching this on Twitter or Facebook, you can head over to our YouTube channel and you can participate in the chat room. I put up some of the comments on the screen. Give us your hot takes, and maybe we'll acknowledge your comment. So there you go. We got WrestleMania. Let's get to it, Virtue.
No, what sucks about being under the weather, I don't shave as often, and I still shower, but I kind of feel like, an AEW fan right now. Only difference is even if I'm sick, I still brush my teeth. I still will shampoo my hair, and
Your neck beard isn't that bad.
And I will still use deodorant, but I do gotta. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing. WrestleMania season. Maybe I want to become a Cody Crybaby. So maybe I'll just let it keep going, keep growing. But anyway, first topic this evening. And we saw the gauntlet match, or whatever you call those matches these days, to determine Gunther's challenger for WrestleMania. And no, Brock Lesnar is not back. One day I think we'll see him back for all the people that are sickly offended by what they thought what kind of human being he is, with no proof of anything like that. He'll be back to grace you with his presence again one day. So just wait for that. But in the meantime, we have life without Brock Lesnar, and that means no Brock and Gunther at WrestleMania like the rumors were, last year and during the months leading into WrestleMania. No, it's going to be Sami Zayn versus Gunther. Now, Sami Zayn is a former Intercontinental Champion, and so he's that underdog that was hugely over when he was with the Bloodline and that whole feud with Roman Reigns, and obviously he didn't beat Roman and win the title there, but him and Kevin Owens did win the tag team championship last year at WrestleMania. Could this year be another moment for Sami Zayn to end the run of Gunther, this monster Intercontinental title reign? Now, here's what I'm thinking. You have Roman, who's very well possibly going to lose his title. Do both of these champions lose their title in the same weekend? I don't know about that. So I want to get everybody's thoughts here on this whole scenario for the Intercontinental Championship. Is it time for Gunther to drop the title because maybe it's time for him to move on to bigger and better things. So, Brett, I'm going to start with you here. I kind of have a thought here on what I would like to see happen, but I'll let everybody else speak first. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I see Sami winning it is if Sylvester Stallone is actually at WrestleMania and like accompanies him to the ring. If Stallone accompanies Sami to the ring, he's going to win. But otherwise, I don't see how they could do it. It's like this reign has been so long, so it's like, what? Even if it's a fluke, Gunther loses to Sami, and then he's expected to move on to the world title. So I think we're gonna have to see like celebrity involvement, from somebody like Sylvester Stallone, like has been rumored, in order for it to make sense. So otherwise, it should be somebody with credibility, like say a Bobby Lashley, who beats him, because then he would still have credibility to move on to the world title. If he lost it to somebody like Lashley, who would, make sense to, have a title like that and beat him. So yeah, that's my take on that. Otherwise, I don't see how I can lose to Sami.
I mean, what are they going to do if they had Stallone? Like, that's in Philadelphia, which is where the setting of Rocky movies were. But I'm looking at the, Intercontinental Championship is your secondary title, Intercontinental, whatever that even means. I don't even know what that means. Like, was it just the United States? Is it every continent? But it only makes sense to me to have the Stallone stuff, because Gunther's that the Ivan Drago, the foreigner. But Sami Zayn being that type of underdog, we know he is, but like, is he like, he had, who is Jackass, right? He had that comedy match a couple years ago at WrestleMania, and everybody was like, oh, he's buried. Well, then look what's happened with Sami Zayn. I mean, he's had a pretty good run since. Could this be a WrestleMania moment for him with Stallone? Mike, what do you think? Like, it all depends if the celebrity wants, if the celebrity wants to do it, and do they kind of?
I think Virtue froze up on me here.
All right, go ahead. Give us your take on it.
I absolutely hate it. Kind of like what Brett said. I don't think I think Sami was over WrestleMania 39 and shortly thereafter. He's still a good worker. I don't dislike him, but Gunther's been the Intercontinental Champion for 284 days or 290 or whatever it is. And then you're going to have him lose to I don't want to call Sami a mid-carder. I don't think that would necessarily be fair, but I just don't see how, okay, and then the Intercontinental title is a lesser belt. So, okay, I lose this title. Now I'm going to challenge Seth, Drew, Roman, or Cody. It doesn't make any sense. Like, now I could see, like, the angle, maybe Gunther says, you know what? I'm tired of dealing with these mid-card guys. I'm dropping the Intercontinental belt. You guys have a tournament for it, fight for it. I'm challenging the winner of Drew, Seth, Cody, Roman. And unless you're just going to bury Gunther, but I don't see how you lose to Sami and then make a push for a bigger belt. It doesn't make any sense to me.
All right, well, Virtue is still gone, so I guess we'll throw it over to Walter now and get Walter's thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, I'm a little torn about this one. Like, all respect for Sami Zayn, but I think him and Chad Gable are both in the same boat where they kind of they missed the boat by like this much. Like, they should have struck when the iron was hot, and then it's like they let it cool down, and it just don't make sense. Like, Chad Gable, if he would have won like 2-3 months ago, it would have made more sense. But now he's cooled off. If Sami, when he first started saying, I don't know what I'm going to do in my direction, and then he got this IC title, it would have made sense. But to me, you got Gunther, the most dominant IC title. This was your chance to introduce someone and bring them up and like make an instant star out of them. Like, you just drafted Braun Breaker to SmackDown. Like, maybe Braun should have did it, or like a Carmelo Hayes gets called up, or a Trick Williams, like somebody from NXT, somebody not established to your mainstream audience, and then you would have made an instant big star. Like, wow, this person defeated Gunther after Gunther dominated so long. Or if it wasn't for these stupid text messages, we would have got Lesnar, and that would have been big man slapping man meat, and everybody would have been into this match. It would have been crazy. It would have been a brawl, Gunther would have got even more established as a better star by beating Brock, or Brock could just come and just snatch the title like he does everything else. But like, so I'm a little good for Sami. Like, congratulations, but I kind of don't want him to win the title now, because now it's like Gunther defeated all these people, and out of everybody, you lost to Sami. Like, no disrespect to Sami, but it's like Sami of all people, you could have established somebody like big and made a huge star like instantaneously. Like, isn't that kind of the point of what you want to do? Establish the stars of the future. So I don't know, but I think the whole situation with the lawsuit is they got thrown a curveball and they just had to do something with it. And this is like a backup plan to the backup plan, basically.
When do we think this match will be? Night one?
Possibly.
Yeah, probably.
I think whatever happens in this match, I think if Gunther retains, then it's very likely Roman will lose his title to Cody Rhodes. I think if Gunther loses his title, I'm going to be the first one that starts tweeting Roman is not losing to Cody Rhodes night two. I'm seriously using this match as a gauge for that. Aaron, what do you have to say?
I do think it's more likely for night one because we have the World Heavyweight title match on night two. Thus, if you're going to balance it out, I mean, it really could be either night, so it's just a guess at this point. But we do have a couple of super chats here, and I'll give my take on all this. Marshall, shout out to Marshall. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, Gunther will retain the IC strap at WrestleMania. I believe. Your thoughts? I am leaning towards that at this point. Now, we do have a little bit of time to go before the pay-per-view, and there could be some twists and turns, but as it stands right now, I believe he will retain because I am expecting several title changes at this show. Sami Zayn already lost to Gunther. Now he could potentially win and end the streak, but I feel like it should be somebody else. I think somebody can become a made man from beating Gunther, and I don't think Sami Zayn needs it. And Sami Zayn's a veteran at this point. I say give it to a young guy. I think it should have been Braun Breaker. I wanted to see Gunther versus Braun Breaker if Brock Lesnar was unavailable for this show. This should be an awesome match, but also I feel like I would have rather seen something else. But maybe Braun Breaker is the guy they're going to go with, and they decided, well, we're already doing other title changes. Let's hold off a little bit longer. I do not think Gunther will be championed by Bash at Berlin or Bash in Berlin, whatever it's called. That is at the end of August. I think he will be going for the world title by that point. That's my prediction. And Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, Brett and Mike look like father and son. Well,
hey, then I'm your brother-in-law. I'm your brother-in-law then, Aaron.
There you go. Well, wait, what would that? Yeah, would that make us brother-in-laws? No.
Yeah. Or would it?
No, Mike is my brother-in-law, so that would make you. That would make you my uncle-in-law.
Cousin-in-law.
No,
I don't know.
Somebody's gonna have to figure this out.
Mike, if Brett was your son, what would that make?
Nephew-in-law? Nephew-in-law?
Because-
Nephew-in-law.
Yeah, nephew-in-law, because Caitlin is Justin and Nick's aunt. So you'd be the uncle-in-law, because if he was my son, just like Justin and Nick are. So
yeah, Brett,
but
that's
only confusing. I think it's more confusing than trying to watch an AEW show.
Brett's only like 30. He's the young gun of the crew here. So I mean, Virtue, you're too young to be Brett's dad, I think.
Yeah, I'm 43.
Yeah. I mean,
theoretically, possible.
You guys just mentioned AEW. I shit you not. Like I'm going tomorrow. I got front row tickets for $86. What does that say for the state of AEW?
Oh.
I literally paid $86, and I'm on the floor like 3 rows back from the ring.
Well, it shows that, I mean, this is kind of entering a different discussion. It's probably more interesting, though, than the predictable job match at WrestleMania with Sami and Gunther. But Sasha Banks is not worth the money that whatever Tony Khan's paying her. I mean, Sasha even said, and I'm not going to call her Mercedes. Everybody knows her as Sasha, okay? And so Sasha even said recently she'll go back to WWE. So I'll bet when the 3 years are up, she'll just be back. So Tony Khan's probably grossly overpaying her an amount that TKO didn't feel she was worth. And she's a useful piece to have. They don't have a lot of big names or names at all in the female division in AEW, but they're probably paying her like a few million per year, and that's a complete waste of money. I mean, you heard what Walter just said, $86 for their CM Punk Last Dance type debut. I think that they're just totally like think about what is a memorable promo that Sasha Banks has ever cut. Oh, okay, she main evented night one of a pandemic WrestleMania where the real stars like Brock Lesnar, didn't feel like showing up, so she got to main event a night. It's like big deal. Name one memorable promo that she's ever cut, and tell me what her character is.
She's the boss.
The boss of what? What's been one vignette or promo
boss
that
of
has
wrestling.
described that character?
She's the CEO of wrestling.
See,
again,
look,
no promos. No promos.
We were talking about Sami Zayn, and the subject got changed. And what I want to bring up, Red Hot Sami Zayn, who was mixed up with the bloodline, a year removed from it, nobody cares about Sami Zayn. Jobber going to lose to Gunther. That's exactly what's going to happen to Cody Rhodes after he finishes his story. You stupid Mark Cody Crybaby fans. And this little case study tonight is bookmark this, because we're going to come back to this after Cody wins several months down the road when nobody cares about him anymore. That's exactly what's going to happen, because when Cody is no longer affiliated with the bloodline in a feud or anything like that, champion or not, even the pink robe wearing marks aren't going to give a crap about him anymore. And the whole Sami Zayn topic right now is exactly what I mean. And that is proof. And what does Virtue always say in the end? Virtue's always right. When you don't want me to be right, I still end up being right, even when I don't want to be right. But I just wanted to point that out. Nothing against Sami Zayn at all. I do think he won't win the matcher. But I just remember how red hot he was when he was involved with the bloodline. Even again with Owens against the Usos for the tag. And now he's just jobbing. Let's talk about Sasha Banks. I'm telling you, people. I'm telling you. That's what's going to happen to Cody Rhodes. That's how strong.
But I think you said it. I think you hit the nail right on the head, though. Sami Zayn was hot because he was with the bloodline angle.
Yep.
Sami Zayn wasn't hot on his own.
Yeah.
All right,
Go ahead, Aaron. Finish up, and then we can move on.
Yeah, we got off track there a little bit. David, I did not forget your super chat. I have them all bookmarked. They automatically get starred by StreamYard. I just couldn't get to it because somebody had to go off track here. But hey, that's what the NoDQ review is all about. We sometimes go off in different directions. But yes, David sent in $2. Thank you, David. Said Gunther should retain with all the pay-per-views coming. And I agree. You got several more pay-per-views before Bash in Berlin. Maybe Gunther can go to France for the Backlash event, which is on a certain person's wedding day. So I will actually be missing that pay-per-view, and that's like the first WWE pay-per-view I'm going to miss. So hopefully Gunther doesn't lose it at that show, but I could see him defending the championship in France, in Europe. He'll get a big reaction there. And then maybe he drops it Money in the Bank or something like that, and then he goes on to Bash in Berlin and challenges for the world title. And
before you move on, Sami Zayn was not hot before the bloodline. He was like you could, whatever he did with the Intercontinental Championship, and nobody cared other than stupid marks like, oh, Sami Zayn, until he was with the bloodline. Then everybody cared. And when I see marks in the chat, right. Oh, Sami was hot before the bloodline. Bullshit. God, wrestling marks are just the worst. You have no reason or rhyme or reason to your thoughts. You just like a wrestler, so he was hot by default.
So you're not arguing.
Go ahead.
You're not arguing me, though.
No.
Okay, that's. I was going to say I didn't say he was hot. Okay.
No. Somebody in the chat. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, Sami Zayn cured Virtue's flu, I think.
Sounds like it. Mr. Penguin sent in a $5 super chat, so thank you, Mr. Penguin. Much appreciated. Says, how about this idea? Have Gunther win the IC title match, then have him win Money in the Bank, then have Braun Breaker beat him at SummerSlam. Then he cashes in. We talking about cashing in the IC title or cashing in the world title? I'm not sure.
No, he would cash it. Breaker would have the IC title, and then Gunther would cash his money in the bank that he wins against one of the heavyweight champions. That's what I think that's what Mr. Penguin is saying.
The only thing about that is I think it would be better if Gunther was challenging for the title in Berlin rather than going in as champion. I'd like to see him challenge for the title, knowing that he has this history of being a dominant champion, and now he's going for the world title, and whoever the champion is at that time, their title run is in great jeopardy with Gunther challenging, and then it's in that's Berlin on top of that. So yeah, I don't know about Gunther being the Money in the Bank guy, but I'm sure we'll talk about Money in the Bank for the next couple months, and there's plenty of things that can happen with that. Virtue?
Now I have somebody say that Cody was hot before the Bloodline. Cody was hurt before the Bloodline. He came in and was beating Seth Rollins, who did nothing for the longest time and kept – that's all Cody would do is beat Seth. Got hurt, went away. As soon as Cody comes back, he wins a match where everybody knows he's going to face the Bloodline. Now he's hot because the Bloodline and Roman. You guys, come on. Don't let me, like Rock would say, put some gospel on you. This is unbelievable how short-sighted some of you marks are because of your heroes. Like Cody needed the Bloodline to get to that next level too. He was hurt. It was only, is Cody going to come back to win the Rumble? I don't remember Cody being hot at all. He just beat Rollins in a series of matches. That's all he did. Of course, he did have the match that he performed injured, but that doesn't make him hot. So kudos Bloodline for carrying the company since 2020 again. And everybody needs the Bloodline. Everybody. Cody needs to milk this thing, man. He's got to be careful. He went it too soon. Those same fans that say you were hot, they're going to turn on you and say you're not anymore. Okay, Aaron,
real quick. Yeah, and they have to be careful too. Like once Cody wins the title, if Triple H just books it the way he books Raw, it's just going to be a bunch of predictable. They'll have a match on Raw where Sammy's like, we have so much respect for each other. You got to give me a shot. And of course, we'll know Cody's going to win. Predictable main event. He'll run through Priest, Balor, and it'll just be a predictable, like 6 to 12 month run, bunch of boring, predictable matches. Whereas it'd be more interesting, to have him win it and then lose it, like we discussed last time I was on. Have him win it, lose it back and forth. With Cody, there needs to be some drama. If he just finishes the story and then has a title for a year, that's boring. And if anything, it won't be good for him. He's just going to play second fiddle to a Rock Roman feud, and he won't be nearly as interesting. And if there's another attraction at WrestleMania 41, he won't even be one of the main events. So Cody has to tread lightly when it comes to winning the title, because at that point, fans will start to burn out, on the stale title defenses with Triple H's booking.
Brett, you looking forward to his victory speech on whenever it is? The fake tears.
It's pathetic. Like, why was he crying on Raw? I mean, I understand, having some emotional promos. It's part of his character. But, like, he's crying, taking shots at Vince Russo. And, literally, he had a line about Vince Russo's podcast where Russo's like, he uses all these big words and all that and acts like it. The irony is Russo's basically saying Cody acts like a heel, and he kind of does. It's just the crying appeals to a lot of these, soy boy marks who watch the show. And but Cody's a talented guy, but they just have to be careful. And if they play too much into that, I don't know, maybe the audience that watches likes it, but they're not going to get any UFC fans who are digging, Sean Strickland promos. They're not going to get any crossover with Cody, whereas you're getting that crossover with The Rock and Roman right now.
All right, Aaron, go ahead.
I mean, I think we're caught up at this point. We're already. Oh, wait a minute. We actually just had one that come in from Psycho Jet Black. He is here. He says, "Are you guys mad at Cody as much as the Crybabies?"
It's not even mad. I just find it funny.
I told you last week. Go tune into last week's episode. Has nothing to do with Cody. Has nothing to do with WWE. I hate the marks, the fans.
Yeah.
Like, there's a good portion of fans, like the Bretts of the world, the Mikes of the world, the Walters, the Aarons. But there are those crybaby fans that have to figure it out and it has to happen the way they want to. That's what I hate. You marks.
Well, we got We got another super chat here from Marshall Leonard. Thank you, Marshall. Says Cody Rhodes wins the title 8 times in 8 months. Would water down the title though too. I mean,
No,
you
you
don't
just
want
want
to
to
do a lot.
Austin, like Steve Austin back in the day. That's
Yeah,
who do it.
like one thing I would not mind, and we did get this with several people like The Rock and Triple H, and even John Cena and Randy Orton. They did trade the title a couple of times back and forth. So if they could find a good rival for Cody and have that person beat Cody, and then Cody has to try to win it back, and they could switch the title a couple of times, that might be interesting and be a memorable rivalry. Like Cody needs that post WrestleMania. I think if people were talking about this, and somebody asked me about this on the NoDQ Q&A, like, are the fans going to turn against Cody? And as you brought up, Brett, like it could get stale very quickly if they don't have like a really strong story. They got to have a new story. One story ends, they got to start a new one. And I think what Cody needs for his title reign to ultimately be a success is he needs a strong person to go back and forth with, like his own Steve Austin and Rock type of rivalry, and we'll see who that person ends up being. But if they can come up with somebody who can give Cody a good back and forth story, then I think his title reign will be a success. But who's that person going to be?
The Rock and Roman. You don't have to they both just had the match 2 times.
You know
with
what?
Roman, run it back and do like we discussed last time. Do Rock versus Cody. You can have them involved with each other for a while, and then some feuds in the middle, and then you work in other guys like Randy Orton. As time goes on.
I had an idea now that I think about it. What if The Rock ended up beating Cody Rhodes for the title while Roman Reigns is away? The Rock wins it, and now The Rock is like the tribal chief, and Roman Reigns is on the sidelines. And he's getting more and more jealous that The Rock is on top here.
Oh yeah.
Walter.
If you do that, then I need CM Punk to beat The Rock to make it full circle from when The Rock came back in 2013 and beat Punk.
Story.
Now Punk came back and beat Rock. If you're doing that, you need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see The Rock win the title. If The Rock is in this for the long build, as he says, why not? One more title run. He beats Cody. Maybe it's SummerSlam or maybe sooner than that. But yeah, I'd love to see that. And we talked about how they don't need to have that Roman Reigns versus Rock match for the title. But what if Rock beats Cody, and that can build up the drama between Rock and Roman Reigns? I mean, hey, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Mm-hmm. Rock's got to have one more run at some point, right? One more title reign. Like this might be a good opportunity for it. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, and he said if Dolph Ziggler was still there, he would be facing Cody Rhodes for the world title. Remember Drew McIntyre versus Dolph Ziggler? It was on like one of those pandemic era pay-per-views. Like, man. Yeah. Or Baron Corbin versus Cody Rhodes if Vince was in charge. But anyways, we're caught up now, Virtue.
All right. Well, let's move on a little bit of AEW talk, and we'll talk more about the Boss debuting once she officially does it this week or whenever that's supposed to be. And we'll talk about that on an episode after. But guess what? Okada is officially an AEW, and he joins the Elite and the Young Bucks as a heel. We didn't talk about that last week, right? Right, Aaron?
We might have touched on it at some point.
No, but like Dynamite happened after the review, so Okada wasn't officially in AEW yet, correct?
Right, but it was also rumored, and we were talking about the possibility of it happening.
Well, not only did he debut and got a pop, and he joins the Young Bucks and the Elite, and that's stirring a lot of things up and making people upset. And the fact that he's getting paid, huge. Well, no duh. Look who's paying him. Walter, I want to start with you on this. First of all, I was right. But when people were saying Okada to WWE, I should have just laughed even harder, but I didn't. Aaron was smart and said, well, he's most likely to go to AEW because Tony Khan can pull some strings, which he obviously did. Look at that 20 billion yen, whatever. I don't even know how yen translates, but Okada's getting paid like borderline Roman Reigns money. Like that, just insane. And right now you have
$1 million. I think I saw a report that it's at least $1 million.
Well, no, the report was that.
Go ahead.
The report was that it was like 4.5 million, which Dave Meltzer said was not accurate. I mean, there's been conflicting reports on it, but even if it's half of what that number is, that's still a lot of money. I mean, he's definitely making some big money. And the Young Bucks even said, you know, he was a millionaire before and he's even wealthier now. And I believe that to be the truth. I mean, he's making some serious bank regardless of what the number is.
And he's with the Elite, kind of taking that spot of Kenny Omega, who's out of the group, and Hangman suspended. I suspect the Elite's going to bulk up. This is Tony Khan's NWO now. And I don't know if it's going to become, you know, because Tony Khan tries to emulate a lot of his Eric Bischoff WCW stuff that he used to watch as a kid. Could Tony Khan become Eric Bischoff and be an on-screen character with the Elite? I don't know. Just right now, Okada is in AEW. He's with the Bucks in the Elite. Walter, what are your thoughts?
I'm not gonna rush to judgment. Like most people jump down the throat, and this is the stupidest thing. And it's like, let some stuff play out. Let's see what ends up happening. Like maybe it turns him into the biggest babyface eventually, and he's trying to ruin the Elite from the inside. We don't know where they're gonna go. So like, relax and chill. People were like jumping down the throat. This is the worst they've ever seen. But what is the Elite about? Being cocky, power, money. What did Okada just do? Get paid a hell of a lot of money. Now he's got power. Now he's got influence. Wouldn't it make sense to join this faction or be in the Elite when you got the money and the power? If you want to become a star, you're gonna have to kiss a little ass. So let them join it. But then we'll see what happens. I'm gonna with this one. I'm not gonna rush to judgment. I know it's weird that a wrestling fan says they're not gonna rush to judgment. I'm gonna be patient. Word of the year 2024 is patient. I want to see what they do with this. And like JJ's daughter says, let it cook. Let's see what happens. Like people are just so like they need instantaneous satisfaction, and like they can't let things play out. Like you gotta let some stuff play out. Like imagine if everything with the bloodline happened instantly and we didn't get all these extra stories and roads. Like it would have burnt out like 2 years ago, and we wouldn't have been talking about or going off the rails like we did a little while ago. Like some stuff just has to happen step by step. So I'm not rushing it. Let's see what happens. At first I was like, Okada is a heel though when he was, but I didn't follow his Japanese career, so I don't know how much of a heel he was in Japan, but I thought he would be instant a babyface when he came to America, but they threw a curve, and let's see what Tony Khan did. Like 2 weeks in a row I have to give Tony Khan praise, but let him do what he's gonna do. Let's see what the story does, and like people got to be a little patient, man. They're just ready to just jump on things. Like let it play out. It hasn't even been a full week yet. It's been 6 days. Like, geez.
Well, and you know how I said a few weeks ago, I was like, man, I want him to go to AEW and I want him to get the Roman Reigns treatment. And by putting him with the Young Bucks, a lot of people are going to boo, turn on him. Hey, you're a lackey for the Young Bucks. This is like happening right down the alley that suits me. So like, I'm all for this and intrigued to see how it goes down. I just recently said, for once, and Aaron, I don't even know how shocked Aaron is. I said, I kind of like this new Young Bucks direction. And people like Cornette and all that are still crapping on him. People change, people's opinion change, and I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. Go ahead, Mike. It's your turn anyway.
Oh, all right. I actually think maybe you're my son because I absolutely hate the Young Bucks. And I think the way their Young Bucks are being used right now is actually the way they should be used.
Yeah.
So
we're logical.
And that's right. But back to Okada. I'm not a fan of New Japan Wrestling. I don't know. I haven't seen any of his work other than the match or two that he came in. And then last Wednesday night when he took on the 3 jobbers one by one in the trios match. But to your point, Walter, it's hard to let it cook a little bit when Tony Khan's booking doesn't let anything cook. There's never a storyline that develops. The only storyline that he overcooked the devil, and it turned out to be a big, gigantic flop. So if Okada is just going to have all these random matches, for example, Chris Jericho versus Teton on Collision match that the world wanted, if he's just going to do that with Okada, then Okada is just going to collect his money and say, thank you very much. And then maybe go to the WWE when this contract's up. If he puts them in a program, maybe with Ospreay or something, could be interesting, or Swerve Strickland or Samoa Joe. But instead of they just have random luchadors come in and he takes them out one by one, there's not a story there to develop.
All right, Mike. So yeah, we're logical thinkers. That's why we could, hey, they're at least being utilized and for people not liking them, or for them being like egotistical. Hey, look at me. This is my company. I helped start. That at least that they're given a role that makes sense to them, right? And so somebody like you or I who don't like the Young Bucks, we're like, okay, well, this fits them. Let's see where this goes at least. And putting Okada there with them, it's going to make him even more hated. Perfect scenario. All right, thank you for that, Mike. Brett, what would you like to say?
Yeah, Mike made some great points. Yeah, when it comes to Young Bucks in general, I do think, like, I've never been a huge fan of theirs, and I still think, like, I mean, their physiques are just like not. It's like hit the gym a little more, when you look at them in the ring. But I have found them the most entertaining I've ever found them since this heel turn. Usually their promos are like fast forward television, change a channel or, do something. But no, they've actually been, kind of entertaining recently. But when it comes to Okada, it's fine to like bring an Okada in, but you're not going to get that money back. What they're paying him, Tony Khan's just paying him that because he's a mark for New Japan. And he doesn't realize that's not, I mean, you could just see from the Dynamite number last Wednesday with Ospreay in the advertised main event. And they leaked that Okada was going to debut, and the number was down year over year and week to week because Okada, like his only exposure. I understand there's internet fans who've seen him, but they're already watching AEW every week. For me, the only time I've seen him wrestle was when he was Samoa Joe's sidekick in TNA, and he was his Kato like 10 years ago or something. And again, Okada doesn't have a very impressive physique either. I wasn't, that impressed. I'm sure he's a good worker and wrestler. And if they improve his presentation, he could be a good part of the show. But he's never going to be worth that money they're paying him. And Tony Khan's not a good enough booker to like develop him into a star. And it's challenging too. When you bring in like an international star like that, they really have to have like a great aura or star quality to them, or way of cutting promos. Like Nakamura and WWE, he's been able to do well because, but even Nakamura, he's not like an A-list level guy. He's a solid, B guy for them. But Nakamura has a unique look. He has a presence about him. He's even found a way recently to cut these promos, that are, entertaining on Raw. But with Okada, like even if he's getting paid even $2 million a year, he's never going to be worth it. You're better off paying Goldberg $2 million to come in for matches. Maybe it'll help with the next TV deal, even if it's not amazing television. If you're just looking at it like a business person, Okada's not going to bring anybody in, and I just don't understand the business of it. Ospreay, even though we weren't discussing Ospreay, he definitely he looks like he could have more potential. But again, like paying these guys this amount of money, and they're just going to be other guys on the show. I mean, look at anybody, they brought in, even ex-WWE guys, like Miro or even Edge. Edge is kind of become another guy until he returned recently. He's doing those random matches on Collision, against mid and lower card guys. But the roster is just bloated. It's just other guys. They need to pick like 8 to 10 guys to focus on and have them on the show every week and push them.
Well said, man. Like I said, he's a billionaire, right, Brett? So he's just basically paying Okada to hang out with Okada, right?
Right.
I don't know if he thinks he's going to make money with him or not, but he doesn't care. And now he gets to hang with one of his favorite wrestlers. So that to me is what's happening. Aaron, any thoughts on this before we move on? Any other super chats?
There are a couple of super chats, so we'll get to these right now. Shout out to Marshall, said Elite is the modern NWO, in my opinion. I mean, I would say that they're like similar as far as the structure of the group goes, but as far as like mainstream success, I don't even think it's close. I mean, the Elite, I'll say this, when the Bullet Club was doing their stuff in like 2017 and 2018, it was getting a little bit of buzz, and it was like an NWO knockoff, but it was generating some buzz, and I think that helped set up All In, and then the launch of AEW. It did make a little bit of a difference, but I wouldn't go as far as to say they're like the NWO. If you lived through that period with the NWO, and Brett, you were pretty young back then, but
Yeah,
I
but
know,
even as a little kid, like I remember seeing NWO shirts, as a young kid and things on TV and stuff. I mean, the only thing even comparable now is the Bloodline, and even they're not on NWO level. People don't wear, as great as Roman Reigns is, you don't see a lot of Roman Reigns or Bloodline shirts around, but there's much more of an awareness for the Bloodline, especially with the Rock getting involved recently, than the Elite has ever had. So the Bloodline is the only faction in the same ballpark, but still you can't. The NWO is one of the most powerful factions of all time.
yeah. Walter?
I don't think it's the same because not everybody and their mother is joining the Elite like the NWO. The NWO eventually it got watered down to like everybody and their mother was on the roster, and basically you had to split into the red one and who's going with what, and Sting and all these people. Marcus Bagwell was there. Like everybody and their mother joined the NWO. So the Elite,
Well,
at least they're not doing that.
Don't
At
speak
least they
too
were
soon,
over.
though.
At least they were over that.
Walter, don't speak too soon because that Elite faction could grow. If this is just don't speak too
That's
soon.
true.
It doesn't matter, even though the NWO got bloated. They were still very relevant in pop culture, just because it fell apart at some point. The Elite just never been relevant in pop culture, so it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter.
at least the NWO made it
But
cool.
the Young Bucks is it hot topic?
Yeah, I mean, it was for a period. I went in there and I definitely saw the shirts. Now, the NWO definitely sold out arenas, that's for sure. And Marshall brought up, thank you for the super chat, says Dynamite cannot sell out arenas, but WWE does. WWE's what, like 7 sellouts going on 8? I mean, they're red hot right now. And the thing about AEW, I'll say this about Okada. I think that as far as the show as it is and catering to the more diehard wrestling fans, I think Okada coming in is a good move because it freshens things up a bit. Like they need some new people in the mix. But, as mentioned earlier, they really need to focus on a core group of people. One of the biggest problems with AEW is that they have too many people on the roster, as mentioned, and guys come in and then they get lost in the shuffle. I don't think that's going to happen to Okada, and that's why I tend to agree with what Walter said. We got to give it time to play out and see what happens here. But I don't think Okada is going to be a big difference maker as far as moving numbers up and bringing in new fans. But I think for the current fan base they already have, I think he's a good person to have there. He's somebody fresh. And he can come in and have these big matches with different people. They can do another match with Kenny Omega. They can do a match with Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson and a whole lot of people that he can get in the ring with now. And it's good for AEW in the sense of having somebody new in the mix. But yeah, I would be surprised if this ends up making any kind of real difference business-wise. Like I don't think we're going to see a big spike in ticket sales or anything like that. I don't necessarily think it's going to help with like getting a new TV deal, but it'll mean we're going to have more high quality matches. It's pretty much a guarantee with Okada in there. Mike?
Well, then you kind of said it yourself. Actually, it's actually a bad move bringing him in. Then if you don't think it's going to get, because you even said AEW fan is there watching it anyway. So they don't even need him there if they're not going to increase the business. That's the point of bringing in a big name and dropping major dollars on him. You're hoping to take a little bit of your competition's pie and maybe even bring some people that don't even know what ref is, or, bring the New Japan viewer over. But if you're just going to stay with your same 839,000 people watching Dynamite, then it's a horrible investment. In my opinion, because if you drop that kind of money, you got
Mike. It's not an investment to him. It's he has that toy in his toy box for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, spend the time on Ricky Starks and Wardlow, and now Ricky Starks will probably go to WWE. You could have kept the money and invested the time in keeping a Ricky Starks instead of Okada, who probably long term won't be as good television or draw as good as Ricky Starks would, or Wardlow.
Yeah, Walter.
Isn't this the same mistake WCW did in the downfall? Start throwing a bunch of money at like everybody And like this
Yeah,
is
except
what
these guys
started
aren't drugs.
WWE's downfall. Like
Well,
they gotta
yeah.
be careful.
Yeah, well, for a while, those guys were helping. Like those big contracts were paying off. They were selling out arenas, and then once the crowds went down, like those guys were still being paid the big bucks, and that's when WCW started losing a lot of money. Now, Wesley sent in a $5 super chat. Just wanted to make it clear to everybody that in 16 minutes until I have to start taking notes for the NXT review video. Remember when I used to do that? I used to review NXT. Oh yeah, got to cover NXT and talk about whatever they're doing there. But anyways, we're probably going to run into the NXT hour, so I apologize for that. But I mean, if you're here watching us now, you're probably not going to tune out to watch NXT. You can always catch that show later. We have a couple more super chats here. The This Guy Experience, shout out, says, should AEW borrow some storylines from TNA and old WWE? I mean, aren't they already doing that with a lot of these storylines?
More or less.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's basically how it goes. Like after a while, it's hard to come up with a new storyline, so you have to recycle what's been done in the past. So, try to come up with your own stuff, but it's tough. It feels like everything has been done already. Virtue?
Brett, I forgot when you mentioned this earlier. Okada's debut and Dynamite did what, 779,000. It like dropped.
Mhm.
Sting retires, and so goes the fans that only watched AEW for Sting. That's exactly what happened that first Dynamite without Sting. It's because Sting wasn't on Dynamite, right?
No. And Sting's an
Let's
actual
see
attraction.
what happens
Yeah.
going forward each week. But man, Sting might have had a nice little 150K fan base there that watched Dynamite just for him, because
That's what CM Punk had.
That's who disappeared this past week, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's what Punk had.
And I wanted to, this wasn't a super chat, but City by the Bay mentioned, what do you guys think it would take for AEW to become more popular? I think wrestling is a star-driven business. So it doesn't really matter what the quality of the wrestling is. You look at the Attitude Era, like the wrestling for the most part was not that good. It was the characters and the stars that brought in the viewers. Wrestling is a star-driven business. If AEW could build stars who are actually larger than life, that people would mob to go see, wrestlers that can go on talk shows and bring in people, that's what will make AEW more popular. They need to have stars. What they have a lot of great wrestlers, but they don't have a lot of great stars. Virtue?
Like Rock is doing right now for WWE, where all the sellouts more than ever lately, and SmackDown ratings up even more. That's strange. No way. I don't buy it.
And Jeremy, I didn't forget your super chat. We'll get to that in just a second here. I did want to address this real quick from Psycho Jet Black. He says, seriously, what's happening with Jeff Meacham? I'm not going to talk about personal stuff with Jeff. He's taking a break right now, and he's a close friend. If you want to know what's up with Jeff, @_Jeff Meacham on Twitter. Message him. You can ask him what's up. I'm not going to dive into that on here, but he's a great friend and hope he's doing all right. And we hope to have him back on the review at some point. He's always welcome. Jeremy Dorset, $5 super chat here, says, when is Britt Baker returning to AEW, and who would you have a feud with first, Mercedes Moné or someone else? I haven't heard anything about when she's coming back, but I would like to see her get back in the mix with somebody like Mercedes. She's another one where I feel like she could have been a star in AEW, and like she got that push for a little bit, but then they kind of gave up on her. Remember when they were teasing her versus Jamie Hayter, and then that went absolutely nowhere? I think Jamie Hayter got hurt though around that time, but still, like, she's another one where I felt like she had some popularity. Like when they went to Pittsburgh, she was getting big reactions from people, and she's just disappeared. I think she might have been hurt at one point, and she's got her other job. She's a dentist, so I don't know when she's going to be back, but she's another one that I think could have been a top star in AEW. Walter?
No, I was just going to say she's not her, right? It's just the whole we don't have anything creative for you type deal.
I think she's hurt. Tony Khan has said she has some injury, but yeah, I think she should have been the devil. It would have been better than what they did.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad that that she hasn't been used. She was like a homegrown talent too. She was not a WWE cast-off, and yeah, like she is another example. Her, Wardlow, Ricky Starks, these guys had some organic momentum, and it got squandered. And Wardlow's facing Samoa Joe, but he's kind of like an afterthought now. Wardlow destroyed MJF. Mike?
They're not being helped. MJF not there either. That's not helping their cause at all. I know he's got a lot of things. He's get healthy for his WWE contract, but
yeah, I mean, who knows what's up with him? But yeah, I definitely miss MJF. He was a personality. Like, he could talk and he could wrestle too. But I mean, he was at a level above pretty much everybody in the company as far as his mic skills and just his overall attitude. He just has a great attitude about wrestling. He's a student of the game, and he won the NoDQ Male Superstar of the Year, and AEW usually doesn't win on the NoDQ polls. Some people think that the NoDQ audience favors WWE, and MJF won that. So that should tell you something right there.
Well,
that people think highly of him.
They might just be getting ready for him to be in WWE, so they gave him the award early.
There you go. Could be the case. But yeah, he's very much missed. Virtue, I think we're ready for the main event.
Okay, main event. See, the best I can do this. So Cody gets his receipt. Is that how he says it? Receipt on the Rock. I love the Rhodes lisps and his dad. Like, those are legendary. So I'm not making fun of it. Kind of wish I'd talked that way. The tag match is official for night one. The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Seth and Cody. And of course, if Seth and Cody win, no bloodline. Night two. But if The Rock and Roman win, bloodline rules. So have at it. But the smack that all those Cody crybabies love, they took stills. The WWE even did it because they knew the crybabies were going to do it. Took a still of The Rock as the moment that Cody's hand was on his face. Brett, I'll start with you. I knew this match was going to happen already a week or two ago, as we all did, but now that it's official, let's talk about it. I mean, we're getting Roman Reigns 2 nights. I'm fine with that. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, I still think Cody has to really pick it up in the promo department because The Rock has just been vicious. There were some good lines, though, and if he really digs into them, he could cut some great promos. Both him and Rollins, they mentioned, midlife crisis. And Cody even alluded to The Rock kind of becoming a corporate shill with the Terramana. Like The Rock in recent years, he's kind of gone into a shtick coma, if that makes sense, in regarding whatever he's shilling. And that's something he could really, that Cody could really hone in on. Talk about Black Adam bombing, things like that, the XFL. And, but I think, he was just kind of scratching the surface. And Rollins' promo on Raw was an improvement. He was a total goof with the diarrhea Dwayne line. He's lucky. The Rock held back on SmackDown. He really, for a while, he didn't say anything. He didn't say much. And I think that's a credit to The Rock trying to let Cody and Rollins get over. They had the Cody slapping him part and Rollins getting a few digs in. But man, if The Rock, because we saw the video he posted last Friday before the show, if The Rock had really been able to unload on Rollins, it would not have been pretty. So they're lucky that The Rock actually is trying to do what's best for business. But yeah, I mean, we all knew the match was happening. We discussed a couple weeks ago, what I think should happen, which is The Rock and Roman win night one, Cody wins night two, and then The Rock beats Cody for the title. That's the best possible scenario. Because Cody gets to pin Roman. You can't take that away, but then you get heat immediately. So anybody crying, it's like Cody gets that moment, but then that is a real moment. If they do that, Cody just finishing the story is just kind of, it's like we discussed earlier, it's just going to lead to the predictable, matches afterwards. But yeah, this tag match is the most excited I've been about a WrestleMania match in years. And I think it's the best build with the best promos in large part because of The Rock and The Rock playing into reality with the Cody Crybabies. And yeah, it's great TV. You know, keep having the 45-minute promos every week. Don't put them at the end of the show where it's shortened. Have them start the show like they did a few weeks ago, so we can get a whole hour of a Bloodline promo. And let's keep it going. I hope the rumors are true that The Rock is going to do another Rock concert about
Dude,
Cody.
I've been watching all the old ones, getting ready for it.
That'd be gold.
Yeah, hopefully he does. But yeah, I mean, very entertaining, and it's with WrestleMania 2 nights, you can get away with doing stuff like this and making it all feel important. Walter Cruz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it does feel important. Like, people don't realize how much WrestleMania 40 is reflecting on the first WrestleMania. They want to probably end the main event with a tag match, just like WrestleMania 1. The IC title is important again. Like, it's so much going back to the old school, like, shout out. Like, I appreciate all this, but I'm with Brett. Like, I feel like the deck has to be stacked against Cody, and you got to lose the tag match so that everybody can be like, oh my God, Cody might actually lose the title. And then we know to lose the match against Roman, and we know that he won't, but like it'll create doubt that Cody's finishing his story by losing the tag. And then we know that if anything, just to see Solo sing the national anthem, like I don't care. Like The Rock is hilarious with his promos, and like I don't care that he leaned into this heel thing, so I'm loving it. But that tag match is gonna, I feel like they should win that one. But that smack was just like Rock tried to hide it, but he almost looked proud of Cody. Like there's some twist coming. Like Rock is there for Cody. It's not really for the tribal team. Like if you really look at Rock's face, it was almost like a half a smile. Like there you go, Cody. Like he's proud of Cody. Like, and then nobody's like noticing that. Every time he mentions his own grandfather, he says the high chief. And if you zoomed in on that the tree that he showed up, the Rock says high chief there, so you could do high chief versus the head of the table. Like there's little like nuances and little hidden things in the bloodline. It's gonna show that eventually it's gonna be Rock versus Roman for that kind of bloodline title thing. So I'm just waiting for that, and hopefully that leads into WrestleMania 41. But we'll see. Like I'm glad I get to go to this WrestleMania because this is shaping up to be one of the best WrestleManias in years. And it's like it takes Rock and Roman and all these people to have a main event both nights. It takes a lot, but we went from no one ever main an event. Well, I mean they've only been doing 2 nights. What, the last 4 years, 3 years? But like no one's ever made an event in this, and virtually been begging for Roman to be the first one to do it, and then they turn around and make 4 people do it.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's okay because this is going to put Roman after that weekend. He's going to have 9 show closing main events, passing Hogan as number 1 with a guaranteed 10 next year against The Rock. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I guess
with
patience
it too,
is a virtue, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
What I do like, what I didn't mention before, I like WWE doing stuff like this. So since we're talking about the tag match, I like that interview that Michael Cole had on Raw because he planted that seed that Rollins, I think it was with Cody, that Rollins could turn like another possible, like, sure, you guys could win that match, but, or just by you being in that match because Rollins accepted it almost on your behalf, might take your game off night 2 and maybe Rollins, like Rollins could cost Cody. I just like throwing that possibility, and that's exactly what they did for those Cody crybabies that are tunnel vision. They're at least saying, "Hey, Rollins could screw Cody during the weekend. We could have Rock try to screw Roman, but Roman was smart enough, and something happened, and Rollins was there to save him. Like there's possibilities, and why we're probably going to get the straightforward ending." So the story can finish. I just, like I said, I want 60-40 where there's other things that could happen. So as we're watching it live, it's not going to happen exactly like we think it's going to happen. There could be a couple twists and turns that make us be like, oh man, and get on our phone.
We don't even know.
Yes,
that's
how it
should be. We don't know the Usos'
be.
roles in it. We don't know the Usos' role in it because what if Jimmy accepts this challenge and Roman's like, who the hell gave you permission to be taking this? You need to be focusing on our match and making sure that me and Rock take over, and then you're over there accepting your brother's challenge. That's not important right now. And then they can play on that, which leads to the Usos reuniting later down the line. There's so many ways they could take, and they're kind of like letting you forget about little things so that it comes back to play. It was like, we should have saw that coming. Like the whole Jimmy thing. Like now Roman can be like, who told you to take that play or whatever the football terms that they be using? Like, who told you to do that? Like to call an audible. That's what he'd be saying to Jimmy all the time. Nobody gave you permission to accept that challenge and stuff like that. There's little nuances that they can throw in this, and it needs so many directions to go. That's why this is the biggest storyline since like the Mega Powers broke up. Like this is a huge story. This bloodline
going forever and ever. Okay, Mike, I think it's your turn.
All right, I'm going to give you what I want to happen. This is what I want to happen. This isn't where my money's going if I were to bet it on DraftKings or something. Rock and Roman lose the tag match, creates a little dissension between those two. We can set that up. And then Roman beats Cody again with interference from Seth as they are teasing the Shield as Cody and Seth entered the promo from the stands, just like Seth used to do with Roman as part of the Shield. Obviously, Moxley's not there, but they could throw in a third party, or maybe it would just be two. And then now Seth screws Cody. You got that feud. Rock and Roman are going to be pissed at one another because they didn't win the tag match. And then there's always the dissension of who's really the head of the table, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I want to happen. As far as the slap goes, I wish they would have teased it a little more before Cody got his receipt. Like I was hoping Friday night, I was hoping The Rock would have caught it and then kind of like grabbed and pulled him closer, and then they could have faded to black and then teased it another week or two, and then maybe Cody gets his receipt a little closer to WrestleMania. That's the only way I would have cheated, but it was classic nonetheless.
Yep. All right, well said. Aaron, super chats, your opinions on this? I'm ready for bed.
All right, well, we do have a super chat here, but I'll get to that in just a minute from Mr. Anderson. I'll give my thoughts on this real quick. I'm really hyped up for this tag team match. To me, this is the most excited that I am for any match on the card, and that includes Roman Reigns versus Cody, just because I feel like the tag match is more unpredictable. Like, it could really go either way as far as who wins. But as I mentioned before, I think that whatever happens in that tag match should be setting up more drama and intrigue for Roman Reigns versus Cody. So to me, that's what is the key here is having a really interesting finish. And we were talking about Seth Rollins. What if Cody accidentally costs Rollins the tag match and there's a miscommunication? Cody hits Rollins by mistake and Rollins gets pinned because of Cody's actions. Then it makes you wonder, well, maybe Rollins is pissed off at Cody Rhodes and could potentially cost him. Even if that's not going to happen, I like the idea that could be inserted into people's minds. You know, Rollins would lose in a match where the title's not on the line, but it would build up more intrigue for the Cody and Reigns match. So I'm really curious as to what they do for that night one tag match. And I love it. I think it's a fantastic match. Glad The Rock is in the mix, and I hope he stays in the mix. And like I said, on paper, this feels like one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time, and it could go down as one of the biggest of all time. Now, Mr. Anderson sent in a $2 super chat. He says, which Uso needs the win at WrestleMania 40 more? Jimmy or Jay? That's a tough one to answer. I would say Jay should win just because he has the momentum right now. Jimmy's kind of just there, and I say keep rolling with Jay while he's hot. And Walter, you got an opinion?
I say Jimmy needs it more, but Jay is probably going to win it because Jimmy's has been under Roman's thumb. Like, he needs to do something to prove himself to the bloodline, and he needs to win more, like in terms of storyline, so he can prove to Roman, I'm got your back, and I'm this person. I'm your next tribal chief. I'm in line over Solo. Like, so you need. The question was who needs it more. Jimmy needs it more. Jay might pull it off though.
Yeah, I mean Jimmy's where he's at right now, and Jay is one of the hottest acts in the company. Like the reactions he gets out there, why slow that down? Unless they plan on keeping the feud going for a while. But it's WrestleMania. The thing I don't like sometimes is when we have a WrestleMania match and it's just the start of a feud. We have seen it with like Undertaker and Kane. They kept it going after WrestleMania. But I like to see WrestleMania as like the end of several storylines, and then you start something new afterwards. Jimmy has also lost so many times. Like I feel like it would almost hurt Jay to lose to Jimmy, and why damage your act that's red hot right now? So I have mixed feelings on it. It depends on what they got planned for these guys post WrestleMania. Are they going to get back together? Are they going to hug after the match, or are they going to keep going? Is it a one-off? If it's not a one-off, I would say have Jimmy win. But if they're just doing the one match, it's one and done, I would have Jay win. And have them
do one-on-one regular match. Don't do no stupid like yeet match or make some dumbass matchup that's gonna be like yeet versus no yeet. Just regular one-on-one. We don't need let's go back to like let's rival other brothers. Matt versus Jeff at WrestleMania, Brett versus Owen. Let's try to match up to the other brothers versus brothers. Don't just let this be like a stupid like nonsense match like a yeet. Like I'm telling you, like I hope they don't ruin it.
Yeah, it'll be a great match, but Jay's the one who's had the singles push. Jimmy's basically been the job guy for the Bloodline, and Jimmy's a talented guy. He's very entertaining on the show, but in order for Jimmy to like credibly win this match, they would have needed to like rebuild him over the last several months, and they can still do that with the evolution of the storyline with The Rock and the Bloodline. And Jimmy could get positioned higher on the card in the future, but for right now, Jay has to win based on where they both are on the card.
Jimmy has basically been booked like Sami Zayn was when Zayn was part of the Bloodline. He's basically the fall guy. He's the guy that's always getting beat up and gets hit with all the finishers and gets beat in every match. So, yeah, if Jimmy was booked really strong since SummerSlam, then I think there would be a stronger argument for Jimmy winning the match. And anyways, we're caught up, Virtue. So if anybody has any other thoughts, otherwise we can wrap this one up.
I'm ready to go. Let's do our plugs. Last words. Walter, I'll start with you.
So on Twitter, you can follow me at Walter Alex Cruz. Let's do a hashtag unblock me, R-Truth. I did nothing wrong. I don't know why you blocked me, but Instagram is the Cow Fire Farm, and then of course subscribe to my YouTube at Rage of Wrestling. And thanks again for having me up here. It's always fun to change it up and do it on the Tuesdays, even though unfortunately you were sick. But it's kind of fun to like switch it up every now and then.
Hey, we were able to get it in the can tonight, at least.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Walter. Okay, Mike.
All right. Thanks again, guys. Had a blast. Glad I hurried up and got things done. Episode 222 of Flights, Football, and Anything Else will be recorded Thursday, available Thursday, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Facebook at Flights, Football, and Anything Else. And finally, Aaron, you owe me one because there was a chat that mentioned the Jaguars trading for Mac Jones, and I could have went off for about 25 minutes in disagreement on that chat, but I didn't want to put you to sleep.
Well, I appreciate that. By the way, Walter was correct. He never tweeted anything about R-Truth unless he deleted it. So there you go. R-Truth mysteriously blocked him. Very weird.
All right, well, thank you, Mike. And Mike,
Yeah.
Aaron won't understand this, but like, what's up with all these running backs just trading teams in the NFL?
I don't know.
It's going to be
Mike, what's up with
very weird next year because they're all probably going to be mostly the starters on the new teams they're on. I've never seen them change this much in one offseason.
How do you go from the Giants to your rivalry?
We're talking over
and then
10 running backs.
Yeah. So
anyway,
it's just the value. The value of the position, or lack thereof.
I think it's stupid. I think that they should be more valued. All right. Anyway, Brett, what do you got to say?
Yeah, like I said last time, NoDQ.com. Aaron's a legend. My best wishes go out to Jeff Meacham. He's a great guy. He's a legend of the IWC. Even MJF knows it. And also too, Big Vito did a lot for me when I did my podcast 20 years ago. He's the first guy I ever interviewed, and I know his wife's been going through a tough time. So everybody go to thebigvitobrand.com and the Big Vito Brand on X, Twitter. I think I saw that he was selling some things recently, to try and raise money for what his wife's going through. So just all the best. My thoughts and prayers go out to Vito and his wife, Noelle. So that's all I got to say. And thanks for having me on.
Yep, you're welcome. Aaron.
Just stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. And we got WrestleMania coming up soon. And keep watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. And tell a friend. Spread the word as we're getting closer to the big event. Hope to have some new people come in. And thank you, Mike, for being on as always. And thank you, Brett, for coming on. Thank you, Walter, for being ever so reliable. Thank you, Virtue, for pulling through. You're down with the sickness. You're doing all right, though. So thanks for everything. And looking forward to next week's show.
NoDQ.com/merch. Go get all the shirts over there. And follow me if you dare on X.com at NoDQ_virtue. And that's the one you got, Aaron. I thought I had a recent one of Rock and Roman Reigns. But nonetheless, glad you put that up there because hopefully Punk will still be part of WrestleMania weekend.
Going to be at Raw in Chicago.
And that's coming up on the 25th. That's all I got. For Aaron, for Walter, for Brett, for Mike, and the whole NoDQ crew and Galaxy out in the chat, this has been the NoDQ Review 277. Good night, and we will see you again next time.